Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the gorilla position. This is Wrestling with Criminals. I am your WWC General Manager and Booker, the only man to ever smoke a NASA-certified moon rock. I am Jay Kraft, the worst case scenario. If you've ever seen a wrestler perform a Northern Lights suplex, you have my guest to thank for it. He is a 19-time world champion. In which promotions? Well, that's none of your business, is it? It's Dan. He's back with me once again. It's good to be here.
Yeah, me too, man.
This time, I've only had you on when we've talked about people that you don't know.
Right.
Wrestlers, modern wrestlers you've never heard of.
Yeah.
But you know this guy.
Yeah.
You know the guy that we're talking about today. It's going to be awesome. He was from your heyday.
Yeah.
It was a really bad gimmick. Again, we're going back to the old well of really shitty gimmicks, the days where everybody had a job in the WWF. If you were a wrestler,
Yes,
you were the garbage man wrestler, or you were the police officer. You were basically in the village people if you were in the WWF back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is kind of a callback to when me and Sean Jones did the Velveteen Dream episode. He did mention that there are a lot of wrestlers out there that'll tell you that, like, you know, this guy's a dickhead, but he's a good worker. So, you know, you can't hate him too much because he's really good in the ring. He helps make you look really nice. And, you know, he can wrestle, so we can't hate him too much.
Right.
That's the kind of guy that we're talking about. He's a total dickhead, a total piece of fucking shit, and nobody necessarily liked him behind the scenes, but he was a really damn good wrestler. So, with that being said, making his way to the Wrestling with Criminals 3 rings. Let's call out the ringmaster for this fucking clown.
Ooh.
He is a second-generation wrestler whose gimmick in WWE lasted longer than he did. A great in-ring technician and a total out-of-ring asshole. Put on your biggest shoes, get inside your littlest car, and get ready to take a pie in the face from Doink the Clown. Come on out, Doink. Come on. Oh. Hey. That's right. Yeah, baby. You remember Doink the Clown, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, come on. Who doesn't remember Doink the Clown from the old school 90s WWF?
Yeah.
He was the clown.
Yeah.
Not much to his gimmick.
Yeah.
He was a wrestling clown. That's really all you need to know about Doink the Clown. This is, again, your bad gimmick days is what we're going back to. Your dumpster Drosy, who I just found out recently will be having his own episode of this show. Your, Repo Mans, your IRS, all of those guys. They all had weird jobs, and this man was no exception. Good old Mr. Doink the Clown. I think we just need to ring the bell.
Okay.
Now, born July 27th, 1957. His parents are Krusty the Clown and that bitch from the big comfy couch. Okay, that's a lie. That is a lie. And there has been more than one person to portray Doink the Clown, by the way. We will get a little bit more of that later, but today we are focusing on Matthew Wade Osborne. His version of Doink the Clown. He was born July 27th, 1957, like I said, in Charlotte. His parents are Ozzy and Sharon Osborne. Okay, that's another lie. Fine, okay. His dad's actually Tough Tony Borne. He was a professional wrestler from the 50s and 60s, and he went up against some total legends, like he went up against Blue Demon in Mexico, the famous luchador that never took his mask off ever. Lou Thez, that's like Stone Cold Steve Austin's like mentor. Gene Kaniski, Vern Gagne, who I cannot wait to do an episode on, by the way, because his at least big crime that he has is insane, because he attacked a Holocaust survivor in a nursing home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh boy. But
Yeah.
yeah, Tough Tony Borne also helped train wrestlers such as Buddy Rose, Roddy Piper, Rick the Model Martel,
Okay.
future subject of Wrestling with Criminals Billy Jack Haynes, and of course his son Matt, and Wrestling with Criminals alumni Art Barr. So
Art.
he wrestled for big Mexican promotions, the NWA and the AWA. He also tagged occasionally with his son Matt. So
All right.
Tough Tony Borne would train with his son. I mean, you better, bro.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
come on, Dad, you're good, and you're trying to get me in this business. So, like, let's go out there and work. Let's work well. Now, like I said, Matt was trained by his dad, Tony, and also Sandy Barr, who's Art Barr's dad, the rapist. This might explain some of his future behavior, by the way, if those were his trainers. Now, early on in Matt's adulthood, he committed the worst crime that anybody in the history of this show will probably ever commit. When Matt was arrested for unpaid parking tickets.
Oh.
You fucking
Oh,
scumbag.
my.
You total garbage human piece of shit. Unpaid parking tickets, Matt.
Yeah.
Come on. But yeah, I mean, that's the least of this motherfucker's crimes. So yeah, you know, young Matt Borne busted for unpaid parking tickets. That was his very first brushing with the law. Matt made his debut for Pacific Northwest Wrestling on December 6, 1978. Matt Borne became a 4-time PNW Tag Team Champion and 1-time Heavyweight Champion. So he did all right in the Pacific Northwest. The breeding ground for creeps, as I've come to find out through my research of other episodes of this show. A lot of Pacific Northwest scumbags out there. Now, Matt moved on to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and on June 6th of 1980 became their champion. He and Buzz Sawyer would also hold their tag team titles. Buzz Sawyer was like his tag team guy. He was like, this is my fucking dude right here. This is the guy I tag with all the time. Love me some Buzz Sawyer. So it's starting out well for Matt. Everything's starting out pretty well. Winning championships and all of these, you know, territories. He even started working Mid-South Wrestling. Mid-South Wrestling eventually sold to Jim Crockett Promotions, which would morph into WCW. So he basically started working for what would later become WCW. And this is where we get the first glimpse of this Joker in the making. Because B. Brian Blair tells this story on an episode about Matt Borne of Dark Side of the Ring. B. Brian Blair remembers working with Matt in Mid-South. He says he walked into where, you know, most of these stories start, a bar.
Yeah.
And he was the new guy, and Matt Borne decided he was going to fuck with him. So Matt approached Brian and asked him why he was hitting on his girl. And Brian was confused as fuck because he just walked in and he was alone. So he was like, what do you mean I'm messing with your girl, bro? I just came in. I haven't even had a drink yet. And I'm by myself. Which one's your girl?
Yeah.
The fuck? So Matt attacked Brian, but Brian fought back and beat the shit out of Matt Borne in that bar.
All right.
Yeah. And then he decided, I'm going to go right back to the bar, have a couple of drinks. And then a few minutes later, B. Brian Blair gets jumped from behind. Matt Borne was back for round 2. And it was another 10-8 round for B. Brian Blair because he just ran that ass whooping back. He was, you know.
Yeah. Here, take this again.
Like, you want fucking more hands? Have some more. He even said he ended up biting a chunk of Matt's lower lip off during the scuffle and spitting it on the barroom floor. It's cool, though, because, you know, a few minutes later, someone grabbed Brian from behind and tried to gouge his eyes out. Matt was back, attacking him for a third time in just a couple of minutes. This time, other wrestlers got involved and finally threw Matt Borne's bitch ass out of the bar. Like, dude, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, what in the shit? So, I mean, Matt Borne wasn't just a fake tough guy who got whooped by rookies during this time. No siree. No siree. He was also a statutory rapist.
Oh.
Matt liked to fool around with 13 to 15-year-old girls in Georgia and ended up getting busted for it. Now, this was the Wild West times in pro wrestling, so no one really knew about it, let alone cared enough to fire him. But the word did start kind of getting around about old pedo Borne, you know? Like, yeah, I heard that this dude likes little girls. Things were back in the 80s. Like, there wasn't fucking social media or these busted social media pages that shows you all the people in your community that got arrested. So it took some figuring out to find out if somebody was a pedo back in the day. There was no sex offender registry.
Yeah, word of mouth.
Yeah, and, but like I said, it is kind of one of those things of like, dude, I heard that Matt Borne likes him young. So the rumors were stirring backstage. And he was tagging with Hacksaw Jim Duggan during this time.
Oh.
And they were the bad guys. And they were the heels. They were supposed to piss off the audience. And like I said, this was the Wild West times of pro wrestling. As they were leaving the match to head to the back, one of the angry fans punched Jim Duggan in the side of the head.
Damn.
And fucking Hacksaw gave that motherfucker a receipt, though. I ain't
yeah.
fucking laying down and taking that. And he punched him right back. This is a fucking former pro football player. Knocked his ass right to the ground, probably knocked him out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but, Matt Borne didn't think that was good enough and decided to just start putting the boots to this fucking downed Mark that just took a fucking Jim Duggan hook to the temple.
Oh,
maybe I could start fucking kicking the shit out of him while he's down here and stomp. And he started stomping on his head, and there are rumors that the dude's eyeball popped out of his socket.
Oh.
Matt stomped his eyeball out. Jesus Christ.
Welcome to the shoe carnival.
Obviously, this led to a lawsuit against Mid-South. Matt didn't face legal repercussions, but let's combine this incident with all this pedo rumors, and you know how that one goes, right?
Yeah.
You're fired!
Yes, you're fired. Sorry, Matt. So Matt went to Canada for a bit to wrestle there, and hope people forget that he's a kid toucher. And I guess they did, because in March of 1985, Matt Borne signed with the WWF and was used as basically a jobber, somebody that gets beat by the names that people have heard of, and, teamed up in a lot of those who gives a fuck tag teams. We don't just throw these two guys together and then let the fucking let Axe and Smash beat the shit out of them or whatever. Fucking let the Road Warriors beat their fucking asses.
Oh yeah.
So he was kind of a who cares guy. He did, however, wrestle Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at the very first WrestleMania as Matt Borne. This is not Doink the Clown yet. He's Matt Borne. He lost, obviously. He also lost to George Wells on April 29th, 1986, and the WWF gave him the boot after that. They were like, we don't need any more jobbers, man. Like, we're good here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see Matt Borne being anything. You're not anything special. You're just a regular dude who looks good. You can wrestle and everything, but there's nothing that sets you apart, man. You don't have a fucking thing. There's no big gimmick. So Matt moved on to World Class Championship Wrestling, WCCW. He reformed his tag team with Buzz Sawyer, and they were managed by Percival Pringle III.
Oh.
That is Paul Bearer.
Oh.
He would later become Paul Bearer in the old WWF. Oh, I'm here to talk some shit. Oh, so weird. I always thought that guy was fucking weird when I was a kid, because it was like, dude, you're obviously not in any sort of shape to take a bump.
Yeah, for
so
real.
what are you even doing out there? I'm here to talk for the Undertaker in my weird voice. He also wrestled with the Iron Sheik and the Dingo Warrior in WCCW. Dingo Warrior is the Ultimate Warrior, but he went by Dingo Warrior at the time, even though he's American. So that's weird.
Yeah.
Matt would move on from WCCW to USWA, the United States Wrestling Association. And somewhere in between this transition, or maybe shortly after, Matt would be arrested for domestic violence against his first wife, which would lead into his first divorce. This would also separate Matt from his kids and cause him to do a lot more coke and a lot more drinking because, you know,
Why not?
why not? I'm a deadbeat now, so I might as well embrace it. Now, his wife even said that she was scheduled to be induced for her first pregnancy, and she showed up to the hospital, but Matt did not. So
Okay.
let's go have our first kid. Yo, Matt, I thought you were going to meet me here. Where are you? Now, Matt would show up after the baby was born, like a few days later, and he was wasted. He fucking showed up completely drunk. Where's the newborn baby, man?
Yeah, bring on the kid.
Here comes the daddy. He later won Dad of the Year award that year.
okay.
So, yeah, of course he didn't. Of course, yeah, Matt Borne, Dad of the Year. In USWA, Matt shared the ring with dudes like Jeff Jarrett, Cactus Jack, and Kerry Von Erich. Now, Cactus Jack is Mick Foley, who actually has a lot of positive things to say about Matt Borne because he was kind of like a mentor to him when it comes to his in-ring style. So he was like, Matt Borne taught me a lot about how to work in the ring. So yeah, he's a scumbag, but I can't give too much hate on him because he taught me a lot, this fucking guy.
Okay.
But yeah, he also went up against Kerry Von Erich. He would leave the USWA in 1991 to sign with WCW, World Championship Wrestling,
Yeah.
where he was Big Josh. And he did a whole lot of who gives a fuck. It was like a dumb outdoorsman lumberjack gimmick where he danced with bears or some dumb shit. It was just fucking stupid. Wasn't a good gimmick for you, Matt. But Matt returned to the WWF in September of 1992 and was once again just another nobody, steroid-fueled cokehead in a sea of nobody, steroid-fueled cokeheads.
Yeah.
So he did not stand out. He was nothing special. Nobody's saying he's a bad wrestler. It was just that he was nothing special, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's good at the wrestling, but everything else is just kind of, you know? Nobody gives a fuck. So at some point, I believe they said that it was Road Warrior Animal who saw Matt Borne after a match smoking a cigarette and his hair was all disheveled, kind of looked like a fucked up looking fro. And the guy was like, that motherfucker looks like Krusty the Clown over there. Look at him.
Yeah.
And then something just kind of, you know Vince McMahon, that fucking clicked to
Yep.
him. Oh my God, what a genius. He's going to be Doink the Clown. So Matt Borne was strapped with the gimmick Doink the Clown, where he would finally find some success, even if it were in the form of a comedic relief gimmick that no one really liked all that much. But at least he stood out finally. Like he
Right.
was finally a dude that stood out. He finally had a gimmick that people paid attention to and would remember.
Right.
Now, say what you will about the character. Anybody who paid attention to WWF in 1994, they
Yeah.
knew who the fuck Doink the Clown was.
Absolutely.
Everybody who paid attention to wrestling in the 90s knew Doink the Clown because he was the fucking goofy clown wrestler.
Right.
We all knew him. So Matt Borne actually played the gimmick really well. Like, he wasn't just the wrestling clown, right? Like, he decided to take that crusty, like, gimmick and decide to be like a scummy, like, crusty Joker type of clown where, like, he would, walk out to the ring scaring kids and, like, smoking cigars and stuff. Just basically being, fucking the one fucking clown from the fucking, what's his name? Fucking, who am I thinking of? Fucking Bobcat Goldthwait movie. I don't remember what the clown was, but yeah, he was that goofy fucking piece of shit clown. So, he was a sadistic weirdo who did evil shit in the form of clown gimmicks. But the biggest issue with the character is that they didn't, like, do much to remind people that was the character.
Right.
Like, they didn't do anything to remind people, like, this is an evil, sadistic clown. So most people tuning in just kind of viewed him as Wrestle Clown, the guy that goes out there and fucking just does all of his stupid, hey, clown guy. Like, that's what they looked at him as. So, but he was getting some good success in WWF because, he could work in the ring. So, he was a good wrestler for a shitty, silly clown. Like, he could work in the ring. But, people liked the goofy clown gimmick. It was the sign of the times, Of all of these stupid jobs, we like the guy that's the clown. Now, at WrestleMania 9, Matt fucked up with his Doink the Clown character. He was scheduled to wrestle Crush, At WrestleMania 9, that was their outdoor in the parking lot of Caesar's Palace.
Okay.
WrestleMania. During the match, a second Doink, played by Steve Kern, would appear from under the ring and help other Doink win the match.
Oh.
Afterwards, they did this silly little like mirror spot where they're like mimicking each other's movements and like laughing about it and shit. But it also kind of showed Vince McMahon that anyone can wear that clown makeup and be Doink the Clown.
Oh.
So, you know,
Not good.
kind of fucked up there by going, yeah, we'll introduce a second Doink who acts exactly like I do. I think you might see where this might be leading to. Because Doink continued to be a mid-card comedy act in WWF. He got some good success, some good wins over some good names. He even got a win over Bam Bam Bigelow, which weirdly enough resulted in Matt Borne was arrested for smoking weed in a hallway after, according to Matt, Bam Bam Bigelow called the cops and ratted him out because he was pissed that he had to let that fucking clown pin him. He's like, man, fuck this. I had the job to this fucking clown. Man, who's out there smoking weed? Oh, that clown? Call the fucking cops on his bitch ass. Let's get him arrested.
Get him
Fuck,
outta here.
fuck that stupid clown. Fuck you. So yeah, Matt was arrested for smoking weed. And then, of course, the WWF had to give him a drug test. And he failed the drug test. And, well, do we have to play it?
You're fired.
You're fired.
Yeah,
You're
good
fired,
night.
Matt. Doink the Clown, however, was not fired. Doink the Clown kept his job, and he just started being played by a guy named Ray Apollo after that. So Matt Borne was out of the WWF, but his gimmick was still in the WWF.
That's shitty.
It's fucking, that's so weird. All right, get the fuck out of here. You're fired. All right, well, I'll just take Doink somewhere else. No, Doink's
nope.
staying here. But here's the thing, though. Matt Borne didn't seem to give a fuck because he went to ECW in 1994 as Doink the fucking Clown.
Oh, wow.
Despite the fact that he did not own the copyright and Doink the Clown was still in WWF at the time as Doink the fucking Clown.
Wow.
So he showed up in ECW just like, what? No, I'm the same fucking guy. But, you know, obviously, legal departments at the WWF and other major corporations are motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
So he ended up having to rename himself Borne again and started playing the clown gimmick as a twisted split personality of his, right? Like, the clown's starting to come through. I'm starting to hear voices from the clown, you know? And he started to shy away from looking like Doink as much as he could to avoid the WWF lawyers. But he was still, you know, he still had a green fro. He would still
Right.
wear like grease paint on his face like a clown and everything. It's just, he wasn't blatantly Doink the Clown in the same makeup, calling himself Doink because, you know, Jerry McDivitt's a bad motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
If I know the name of a lawyer, then you know that dude is an evil fuck.
Yeah, it's bad
Because I know
news.
the name of Vince McMahon's lawyer. It's Jerry McDivitt. He's the guy who's gotten him off of the fucking steroid trial. He's the guy that's fucking going over his old weird sexual assault shit now. Like, he's the one who helped Jimmy Snuka get away with murder. Jerry McDivitt's a mean motherfucker. So no one who liked ECW gave a fuck about a wrestling clown, so Matt's stay there was very short, even though he was trying to play like the tortured, I'm a fucking evil clown, like, and was blatantly doing the evil clown thing. People in ECW still didn't give a fuck. They were like, dude, we want to see people hit people with barbed wire baseball bats and stuff.
Yeah,
We don't give a fuck about this stupid clown. Take your goofy fucking somewhere else. We don't want to even fucking mess with you. So he started working the indies, and he got himself a call center job at the same time, and a new wife. They even had a couple of kids together, and this was after he was Doink the Clown. And she did even say that he tried to impress her with, I was Doink the Clown, you know? And she was like, what, so what, you did kids parties and shit? He's like, no, wrestling. And she was like, I don't care, all that shit's fake.
Yeah.
So she liked him for the scumbag that he was, which is really weird because you know how Matt goes. he would get arrested for beating up his second wife. Apparently so badly that both of her eyes swelled shut, and Matt was so fucked up when it happened that he didn't even remember doing it.
Oh.
So after he got let out of jail, he saw her fucking beaten up face and went, "Fuck happened to your face?" "Oh, yeah. That's what I was in jail for." Fuck, I don't remember that shit. Now, she even said in Dark Side of the Ring that he would get fucked up and like randomly accuse her of like doing shit that she never did or was even like in a position to do. Like he would do shit like, you know, like, "Hey, why were you talking to that fucking dude last night?" And it was like, "I was here with you and I was sleeping. What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, "Hey, how come you fucking went out last night and did that fucking shit?" Like, bro, I was at my job. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, shit like that. He would accuse her of weird shit that wasn't even in the realm of reality. So Matt Borne, fucked up guy here. I think the chair shots and all the coke that you've been doing has been really, really getting into your head. But Matt kept up his Born Again gimmick on the indies, ripping off the Joker, rehashing the tired evil clown trope, and continuously skating that fine line of copyright infringement. So, you know, I'm born again. That's who I am. I'm born again. Fucking, you should have just been really born again and just came up with a new fucking gimmick.
Yeah,
fucking
buddy.
indie clown loser. I guess you could have went for those Juggalo Championship Wrestling titles, huh? They probably would have accepted you there, the ICP guys.
Yeah.
Now, Born Again would even face off with his old buddy Hacksaw Jim Duggan at an indie show with somewhere less than 100 people in attendance or somewhere around 100 people in attendance. I only know this because of what I'll get into later. Matt was still a little bit bitter about him getting fired when he stomped that dude's eyeball out of his head, you know, because after Jim Duggan punched him. Because Jim Duggan was able to keep his job in Mid-South because he just hit a guy that hit him back. He didn't cause grievous bodily harm and stomp his fucking eyeball out of the socket. So because of that, apparently Matt Borne really fucking hated Jim Duggan with like a heated passion, which is something that Mick Foley in the Dark Side of the Ring found to be fucking hilarious. Because according to Mick Foley, Jim Duggan is not a divisive personality like at all. Like he's genuinely liked by every single person who ever meets him. They're like, Jim Duggan's a really nice, genuinely nice guy. So he even said, you have to put in effort in order to hate Jim Duggan. Like you have to force yourself to fucking hate this guy if you hate him. So that's how fucking hilarious Mick Foley found that. But, you know, he was bitter about it. Like, I guess he didn't fucking like Jim Duggan because of all of that shit. And, but before the match, they were discussing, you know, how it was going to go down, as the wrestlers do. I'm sorry to unveil that wrestling is fake if anybody's listening to this and thinks that they don't sit around and predetermine the outcomes of their matches, but it is. Now, Matt wanted to get hardcore in this match with Jim Duggan. Like, he wanted to fucking, you know, you take out your fucking board, start beating me with it. I'll start hitting you with this fucking chair. We'll go like chair versus board and shit. And, you know, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, being the seasoned professional that he is, and being fucking well seasoned in every aspect of pro wrestling, was like, dude, there's like 100 people out there max. What's going to happen is I'm going to go out there, USA, USA, ho, hold up the board, you know, and we're going to have a generic ass match. That's what they want us to do. We're fucking old washed up wrestlers on the indie circuit now.
Yeah.
They want us to play the hits. And I'm not going to fucking take a chair shot and potential brain damage for fucking 80 people. Maybe if this was a filled arena, you'd have a fucking different discussion. But no, we're going to go out there and do our stupid spots that we always do. So this pissed off Matt. And when they got in the ring, he decided to take a swing at Jim Duggan's balls. Like, for real. Take a fucking punch shot right at his fucking nuts. And then Jim Duggan, there's even video of this, and I saw it. Jim Duggan's like, are you trying to work? Are you trying to work, or do you want to shoot? Which in wrestling terms means, are we going to fake this shit? Or are we going to just start throwing fucking hands right now?
Yeah.
And then he goes, let's shoot, which means, we're going to fucking fight. So they started fighting for real in the ring. You know, taking
Wow.
a couple of fucking good shots at one another. Jim Duggan punching this dude that's dressed like a fucking clown. And then grabbed his fucking board and he told the referee, he goes, you tell that motherfucker right there that we're going to finish this in the back like we should. Like we're supposed to do. And basically told Matt Borne, hey, bitch, I'm going to be waiting for you back in the fucking locker room. So you go fuck yourself. I'll be back there. And Jim Duggan headed back towards the locker room. Matt was a pussy and left through the front door and drove away. Never went to the back.
Gotta avoid that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I watched this guy knock somebody out in Mid-South once. I don't know if I should do that. So, yeah, of course that happened. Now, he was floating around the Indies being his Joker, fucking basically trying to be Heath Ledger, ripping off the Dark Knight and all of the Indies and shit. And then in the mid-2010s, Matt started dating a woman named Connie. Now, Connie, for deep wrestling historians, was Nurse Cratchit in the USWA days when Matt was back there. She was like a manager that I don't even know that seasoned fucking pro wrestling knowledge motherfuckers would have heard of. Now, Sean Jones, the reason why I have him as a regular guest on this show is because he has a vast knowledge of professional wrestling. I guarantee you he doesn't know who Nurse Cratchit is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't know. She was weird. She's a goofy looking person in modern days. I don't want to look shame anybody, but the years weren't kind to her. So, you know, he started living with her. They moved in together, you know, dating and living with her as this new Nurse Cratchit, number 3. When are you going to beat her up, Matt? Now, they eventually moved in together, and at some point, Connie's mother also lived with them while she was on hospice care, right? One night, Matt was found stumbling around the neighborhood all fucked up.
Imagine that.
He was even passed out in a neighbor's yard for a little bit, and Connie helped him get back into the house, sat him in a chair, and Matt asked for his glasses. Hey, where are my glasses, Connie? Get me my glasses. And, you know, according to Connie, she went looking for Matt's glasses, couldn't find them anywhere until she went into her mother's room and found Matt's glasses next to some very close to empty hydrocodone and morphine bottles.
Oh.
So, yeah, I wonder what he was all fucked up on. This was on June 28th of 2013, and Connie disputes a lot of this stuff that went down, even though there is record to back it up. So I'm going to tell the story of how the record tells it and not how Connie tells it, because, you know, your phone calls, they log the times that you make them. So that's all I'm going to say to Connie. You're a fucking liar when it comes to your recounting of these events. Now, she did ask Matt if he took the pills, and, you know, if you know anything about hospice care, which, you know, you and I actually know a little bit about hospice care from elderly relatives we've had in life.
Yeah.
She was like, Matt, did you take these pills? These are fucking hospice drugs, dude. If you took these and they're not all accounted for, we're fucked. They will throw our asses in jail. They very much fucking figure out how many and when you're supposed to take all of the hospice drugs. They don't fuck around. And Matt just kind of mumbled, fucking throw me in jail. So basically, yeah, I fucking took them. What do you want? I fucking took them. Matt passed out in the chair. Connie went to bed. She woke up at 6:30 in the morning and said Matt was snoring in the chair, but she did notice some weird shit leaking from his nose and his mouth. And she called a nurse friend of hers, and she was like, hey, like, this dude's got some shit coming out of his nose and his mouth after taking all of my mom's really fucking you're gonna die soon drugs, so it doesn't matter if you overdose on them kind of strength drugs. So, what's it mean when he's got shit coming out of his nose and his mouth? But, you know, he's snoring, and she's like, well, can I hear him snore? Put the fucking phone up there. And so she put the phone up to Matt's snoring fucking face. And her nurse friend, even though this was Nurse Cratchit, she should have had a little bit of fucking
come on,
medical
nurse.
knowledge. Her friend was like, that's a death rattle. He's not snoring. That's the death rattle that people have before they fucking die. And when they are overdosing on drugs, you need to call 911 right away. You must call 911, Connie. And Connie took her friend's advice. She went back to bed, woke up 2.5 hours later, and then called 911. Matt fucking died, obviously. Official cause of death was opiate overdose. Thanks for the help, Nurse Cratchit.
Good job.
Yeah, and she disputes this. She's like, no, I called 911 right away. Well, your phone bill says that you called your friend at 6:30 in the morning and the 911 call came in at 9 o'clock. So...
Ouch.
You went back to bed and got yourself a little bit of rest before you decided to call in this overdose where time matters. Wow. Nurse Cratchit, you piece of shit. Matt Osborne died at 55 years old. Damn.
Ouch.
Yeah, so that sucks. Damn. In June 2015, his family filed a wrongful death lawsuit with the WWE. And of course it went nowhere because what, why, and how?
Yeah.
You know, we got rid of this motherfucker in 1994. He died in 2013, almost 20 years later, and we're responsible? Like, I get it that you're hurting, and I get it that Vince McMahon's a scumbag, but he didn't steal the hospice drugs and force them down Matt Borne's throat.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That is your Wrestling with Criminal story of Matt Osborne, Matt Borne, Born Again, Doink the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we always like to ask, where is Doink the Clown now? Well, you can still play as him in the WWE 2K video games. Maybe you can make him a main eventer, something that Matt was never able to do. Win Doink the Clown a title. Matt was never able to do that. Several people have proven over the years that Doink the Clown is really easy to play the part of, so you might even see him again in the WWE at some point.
Yeah.
WWE has been known to slap the grease paint on some random dudes and do a goofy comedy spot as Doink. But do we really need to see him again? I personally don't think so.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, my wrap-up question, which I like to do of all of these episodes, is like, you know, what do you think? Do you think at WrestleMania 9, Matt should have been like, no, fuck you, I'm going out there as the only Doink? Do you think he maybe should have changed his gimmick up a little bit? Tried to, like, do something that wasn't so cookie cutter? Not been Doink the Clown at all? Where did he go wrong here?
Yeah, I don't know. He should have eliminated the other Doink and showed that he was the only one that could do it.
Yeah, they should have done Doink versus Doink. They
Yeah.
might have, to be fair. I didn't look that deep into it. To be fair, this was the most hasty I've ever done research for something because I thought that he might be a big scumbag, but it was actually kind of fun to make fun of, so I'm not all that mad about it. But there is one more thing that I would like to say to you, Doink the Clown.
Stupid idiot!
Matt, I'm not sure about Born Again, but you are about to be killed again, so let me stretch these shit-talking muscles real quick. Coke, steroids, domestic violence, regular violence, deadbeat dad, and a wrestling clown. Tell me again why we should have been expected to root for your success. At what point were you ever likable, Matt? You're like every other marginally talented second-generation mid-carder that were a dime a dozen. You had an easy way into this business. You could work in the ring, but you totally sucked an ass at everything else involved in the wrestling industry. Vince McMahon told you to be a clown, and you made it work. Congratulations on that. You made it yours, but you wanted to take it with you when you got fired, And that's not how intellectual property works, you non-creative moron. But I played Doink first. So what, motherfucker? Tobey Maguire can't just show up in random movies as Spider-Man. You played a character that someone else owned. Instead of being actually born again with your gimmick, you just kept doing Doink and tweaking it little by little aspects just so Jerry McDivitt wouldn't be up your ass with lawsuits. You could have been born again as another fucking gimmick, not just a clown. But look, guys, I'm edgy. I'm like Heath Ledger's Joker now. Real original, Matt. Let's steal a DC character fucking next. A DC Comics creation. Let's steal that one next. And what is it with loser scumbags worshiping the Joker? Look how cool and edgy that clown is. Yeah, but do we forget that no matter how many times he does cool, edgy shit, it always ends the same? Batman always whoops his ass. The Joker always loses. Just like you, Matt. So congratulations, you successfully lived your Joker gimmick. A motherfucker who has a little bit of success here and there, but totally gets what's coming to him in the end. Batman, in the form of life, whooped your ass, Doink. And that concludes this week's episode of Wrestling with Criminals. Hit me up on X. I am jcraft247. Rate, follow, review the show. That's stuff that helps people see it. If you get on the fucking the iTunes or the Spotify's or the whatever and give us the whatever your platform lets you do, the thumbs up, the review, the 5 stars, the whatever it is, it helps people see this show. And I really, really appreciate it because there's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there. Not too many of them are as funny as ours. And they definitely don't like to talk about the scumbags as much. Or you can just tell a friend, you know, like just tell your buddies, hey, you should listen to this show. I have some international listeners. I have I think 3 different subscribers from Germany. And I have to think that's probably come from somebody from Germany finding it and then telling his buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know. But yeah, we got some good international listeners and I love y'all. And if you guys have any weird wrestling criminals that are exclusive to your country, please let me know. You can email me, planetwnba@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to look into that scumbag and do something about him. I know I got some foreign guys, Ludwig Borga. I'll be doing one about him at some point soon. Dan, what are your plugs? Do you have any?
Feverville317 on social media. And just like, comment, share, tell somebody to tell somebody about Wrestling with Criminals.
And listen to Dan's podcast, which is also my other podcast, yes. Planet W, a WNBA podcast. We're pretty good at it. The season has started again, and we're having a lot of fun. Oh, it's been really, really great. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this whole season. Poor Doink the Clown. I'm so sorry you're dead. But I will say this, and with a whoopee cushion from the top rope onto Matt's dead body, 1, 2, 3, we are out of here.